Um, Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for staying this late. So I admire your energy. So thanks for the organizers for having me. My name is Zografski, and I am the co-founder of Solveo. We were lucky to get in the AI game pretty early, because we worked with clients that worked with vectors and transformers from 2020. So because we got an early start, we've been using that technology for quite some time. And we've been developing solutions that, as Vanya said previously, are useful now and not useful 5 to 10 years from now. So what we're going to talk about today is how we leverage these types of technologies, because we can see them as tools to make us better at business, more efficient at what we do, and also, in general, more competitive in a business environment. And that's why we're here to tell you about that. With me, I have 4 wonderful experts. Awesome people that know this technology and have been using it now inside their companies. So we have people from startups, people from services industry, people from educational industry, and people, large executives from enterprises. So all of these use cases are very good and are very useful for a lot of people inside the audience. So I think what we wanted to do together with the panelists was make this session more useful in a way that it kind of brings everyone with ideas of how they could use this technology when they go away, and probably after the summit they can have something to do with it and bring some value to you guys. So without further ado, I would like to invite the panelists to stage, so I can introduce them while they're here. So first is Bozhanka Vitanova from Team Lift. I cannot see you. Okay. She uses. They use. Yeah. Please do. Then we have Mila Grujovski from IW Connect. Then we have Metodija Mircev from A1. And we have Zoran Kimov that did this wonderful presentation for us. So thanks, guys. So as I said, Bozhanka is, okay, that's cool. That's good, thanks guys. We have the final session of the day, and it's an interesting one. And we talked a lot about how every one of us is using this technology. So if you could do like a short intro, Bozhanka, please, of what Team Lift is doing and how you guys are leveraging the technology to have like a big impact on how teams work and function.
First of all, I'm super happy to be here. I have been a big fan of Macedonia 2025, Nikita's work, and I have been wanting to come to the summit for a while, but it hasn't worked out. So I'm just very happy to be in a room where there is so much energy and enthusiasm about making Macedonia better. And it's been wonderful also meeting everyone on this panel. There are some really cool things happening, so we're excited to share that. A bit about Team Lift. We use AI. We use a type of AI. We have focused on knowledge graphs, structuring unstructured data. And we use all of that information to form high-performing teams. Most of the work that we do is within enterprises that go through transformation and need to put together teams that can get new type of work done.
Yeah, so that's great. I mean, using new technologies and connecting it to how people work, I wanted to pose a question to the audience. I think we have that on Slido. It's a poll. I don't know if we can see it. Okay. So I want to ask everyone, have you used an AI tool in the past week? So the one that we did before doesn't count. So like everyone used that. It had like 60, 70 responses. So that's a nice number there. That usually happens. 7. So yeah, as you can see, it's a lot of people are using it, right? So it's, but going on to the second question is, you used it for what? What did you use the AI tool for? So did you use it in a business purpose or a personal purpose? Or what was the context about? So yeah, that's again the usual number we get. So a lot of people are using it for business purposes, because that's, so one of the things about the technology as it is now is that's their main use case, right? So I wanted to talk to Mile about how you implement these types of technologies inside of large projects, and how do you help your clients, your companies become more efficient operationally?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one of our biggest challenges is identifying and applying AI solutions to the existing business problems. We understand that businesses have their own unique challenges and goals on one side, but on the other side, we do understand the dynamic nature of the AI tools. It's rapidly evolving in the last months, I would say. Even yesterday, we had a new release of ChatGPT, so it's really challenging. So our goal is to find out the optimal solution to those business problems. And this solution should really increase the efficiency of the businesses that will result at the end with better business success. I mean, that's the ultimate measure that everyone is doing. So I would say that there are numerous of ways how the AI can help businesses become more competitive. One example, AI tools are really good at predicting things, at detecting trends, detecting patterns, and data insights. So those things are invisible to the human or difficult to identify them. And once we have those analytical results, we can use them as an input to our decision-making processes. And those are evidence-based decision-making processes. They're not just stories in our heads, but really evidence-based. And when we feed that to our business strategies, that will return results at the end. For example, in customer experience, whenever you have a customer service providing, you can use the chatbots to create answers to your customers. I mean, that's available instantly to everyone. And if you use specific AI tools, then you can even provide personalized answers. So personalized answers will improve the satisfaction and the retention. Again, as I said, AI is really good at predicting trends. So you can use those trends to feed sales, marketing teams, so they can better understand the customer behavior, customer needs, and they can adjust their strategies better. Also, AI can help us in understanding and managing risk. For example, in financial institutions, there's a risk of financial fraud. There's a risk of those transactions, and then customer screening, transaction monitoring, but again also can help in the preventive maintenance, for example, in production lines. So there are numerous of ways how the AI can help. The key question is here that how do we build the tailored solutions to the businesses that maximize the value of the AI?
Okay, so yeah, I mean that's a great perspective when you have like personalizing a customer experience, something that Zoran did with all of us here. So we gave him our data, and he did something personal for us. Yeah, so that's a great example of what we want to achieve here. So, Metodija, just to shift gears a bit. So, from a enterprise perspective, because you're in a senior executive position, and I think how does AI come into play into the whole decision-making role, and how is it integrated in the whole corporate life inside of a large enterprise?
In the telco industry?
Yes, in the telecom industry, yeah.
First of all, let me thank you for having an opportunity to participate on this important event. Now, referring to the telco industry, actually worth mentioning that we as a global industry are now in a process of massive internal transformation. This is maybe not something which is so visible outside, but this is actually something which we are ongoing as an important process, and this is actually the derivative of a lot of external factors which are putting enormous pressure on us. Not referring to Macedonia, to the region, I'm talking now globally as an industry. And these factors actually are putting us in a position that we have to transform rapidly and actually to adjust to the new operating model. And these external factors are, the first and the foremost are customers. The customers are changing. Here it was mentioned customer experience and customer satisfaction. But the customers are changing. The customers are changing their behavior. They're changing their usage profile. Actually, all of you are customers of telecom services, telecom service providers. The customers are changing their expectation as regards the experience of usage of telecommunication products and services. And this is something which has been heavily emphasized within the Corona period. We know we were all locked down, and actually the telecommunication was the only way how to communicate with our businesses or with our relatives. But it actually changed the way how we are using telecommunication products and services, and this actually continues, and this is something which is related predominantly with the data consumption. And this is actually the first and the foremost driver, as I mentioned. The second one, which is influencing this drastic change in the telco industry globally, is the new technologies. I mean, we are heavily deploying new technologies, adoption of 5G, the rollout of fiber to the home. And these technologies actually are putting us in enormous pressure from the perspective of substantial capital expenditures into rollout of these new technologies, and clearly also from the maintenance of these technologies. And this is still something which is not fully reflected in the revenue performance on the telco side. Then we have the regulation, and especially in Europe we have the regulators which love hyper-competitiveness. They want to give everything to the consumers, and actually imposing very strict regulations which unfortunately are increasing our OPEX positions from the negative perspective. And basically it does not contribute at all in the top line. Actually it contributes negatively in the top line. We have the inflation, with the inflationary pressures, so basically a huge impact on the OPEX and CAPEX positions, which actually cannot be at all reflected on the growth on the revenue side in the P&L. And having all this combined, actually, I would put last but not least the investors, because the investors, they actually love great returns from stocks. And if we see the stocks of the telco companies on the capital markets, and if we correlate with the performance of stocks of other high-tech companies in the high-tech industries, actually the telco is underperforming. Basically, we are in a situation we have to invest more, capital expenditures, CAPEX, higher operational expenses to sustain the business and not to growth. And this is not something, which investors like. They want to have a very strong return on the invested capital. On the other side, and this is actually I would say this transformation of from the technological perspective of the telco industry. On the other side, because we were evolving for the last 20 years, actually we came out to a situation when we have to manage very complex and robust systems, platforms, technologies. And this actually imposes, I would say, very strong negative pressure also on our P&L on the OPEX positions, and approximately 60% of our operational expenses goes to operations. And it's something which was even mentioned prior. So if you combine these two elements, then actually you have the AI as a tool which actually can improve the efficiency. You mentioned the decision making, but also the operational efficiency in all the aspects. Now, for the last, I would say, 10 plus years, we are in a dynamic digital transformation. So it's not that we are sitting and waiting for AI to come and be the ultimate remedy of our problems. So basically, we are continuously transforming ourselves, especially, starting from process automation, from robotization, from machine learning, and now actually it's time to, not time to implement, actually we are already implementing the power of the AI, and this goes actually in two directions. The one direction is to improve the operational efficiency, it has been mentioned, and to have the positive impact on the financial results and the EBITDAs, free cash flows, and the stock on the capital market performance. And this is something which is obsession by investors. But on the other side, by having or mastering the processes which are predominantly customer-facing and actually excel or to be, to give supremacy on each and every touch point from the customer perspective, this actually builds or evolves the customer experience and customer loyalty, which is actually the obsession of telco operators.
That's interesting because it actually involves a lot of external data and a lot of data that's connected directly to you. So it's something that probably these types of technologies are good at, like analyzing and giving some types of insights.
True, because we as a telco industry, actually we are generating zillions on terabytes of data. Yeah. All data, personal data, transactional data, locational data, critical data, which we have to store, process, and this is something which actually comes into the focus of the AI as an element which actually from this data will extract actionable items to have the good performance, on the operational side.
That's a perfect segue actually to what I want to ask Zoran. So how do you best leverage tools like the ones that you showed to help us convert data into insights? Like, what are because you have a background in data analytics and working in a bank, so it's a more different industry than what you're doing now. So can you give us a bit more?
Yeah, actually it's really interesting because low-code tools really changed the way I was doing all of my corporate loan analysis. For the period of 13 years, I've been working in 3 different commercial banks here in Macedonia, and most of the time I used to use Excel as a tool for analyzing the data. But Excel, is powerful one, but has its limitation. For example, while doing this corporate loan analysis, I had to get data from our, business system that all of the employees are using. Then I need to use data that are coming from the client's external business systems, for example, for accounting, and usually I would get this data in a PDF format. And additionally, I would need to extract data from, let's say, national bank, from regulatory system, from credit systems over there. So I needed to find a way to put this data from different data sources and to perform the analysis. And using Excel, it took me like, 1 week or 1 week and a half in order to perform this analysis. But after finding the power of Power BI tool that I have learned in CMOS education, and this is how I've changed my career, I've learned that just by one click, if you set up the connectors in the backend, if you set up the data model, that you can get the results for the analysis, and you will get information on top on which you will make the final decision. So the people, again, are making the final decision, but all the analysis, all manual tasks that I was doing earlier, manually now I could get just by one click. And I've managed to implement this not only in credit loan department, but also in risk department, in HR department, marketing department, and all important department inside a bank or any other, let's say, organization.
So yeah, basically making your job and your life easier.
Easier, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and more streamlined, I would say.
I would able to do more with less.
With the time you have, you're able to produce
more creative things.
A substantial amount of more things. So I would implore the audience, if they have any questions, we would love to answer them. We have some questions that I want to propose to the speakers. So we have one question that talks about, in the age of AI, what can be done to ensure gradual job replacement instead of disruptive changes? So I would love for Bozhanka to tackle this one. If you have, because you're working with teams and a lot of that is connected to jobs and stuff. So if you...
I don't think this is such a big concern, or at least not something that we need to be worried about right now. So what you were showing earlier with Copilot, it's really about making people more productive. So from everything we're seeing right now, there is a push towards we're gonna kind of replace human labor with AI because you make less mistakes and it's more efficient and all of that. I think that there is some general idea to do that. But where the world is right now is much more around there is an opportunity to transform a business and to do something different, to open a new market, to kind of create a new product that really requires people to upskill and learn. What I believe is that you want to take this step by step. So when you're learning something new, especially if you're not just out of college, if you have been in the workforce for a while, you want to ensure that the first things you're learning, you kind of experience this success. So you start gaining the confidence that you will be able to learn this skill. So when we speak about gradual, I think what's important is to kind of be realistic about where your strengths are and find something that's related to those strengths and just start playing around, kind of gain some experience, feel like you've accomplished something, even if it's something very small. I'll just share one example. One of my friends in the audience, not related to AI. I am a very bad driver, and we were driving around Macedonia. I was trying to show him the country, and I was practicing. And I suggested it was kind of night, it was raining, and I was like, what if I kind of go in and practice now and do this? And he was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea, because if you fail, then kind of that's it. You will be afraid to go back into this. So why don't we kind of take this side road tomorrow and we'll do this for 10 minutes, and then you feel like you've accomplished something, and then we'll do the next thing. So I think it's very much like that. It can be intimidating. There is fear that you're going to be replaced. I don't think that's happening sometime soon. For example, you can make Bix, but we have our designer, he's here in the audience. We're not replacing him anytime soon, but it's nice if he can use these tools and start incorporating it in his work. I think that's the challenge we have right now, just being open to learn and being open to do new things.
Yeah, and it gives you a great head start. And in your experience, so how has it changed the way teams are structured and work in every environment, startups, in any type of environment?
So this notion of a good team is kind of elusive. because most of us have horrible experiences with teams where kind of like all the work falls on 2 or 3 team members, they're free riders, or there is miscommunication. I think that that's a much more prevalent experience. There was a lot of discussion this morning around how sports teams are a bit different because it's kind of very clear. I think Mike was speaking about this. You have a goal and you need to score. You're going to win. You're going to keep trying, not give up. What I believe is possible now is these teams that sometimes are successful, it doesn't have to be a matter of chance, because when you go and you analyze teamwork, you can see what combinations of people, so what personalities can work well together for different types of work, what types of skill sets go well together. So it's technically possible. Like, let's say if we take everyone who's in this room right now and we say, what do we want to do? Maybe we want to organize this race that Maria and Mike are going to apparently do tomorrow morning. And there are a couple of things that need to be done in here. Maybe we need to kind of find the road where this work needs to be done. Maybe we need to kind of make sure that it's safe. We need to find the cars, organize the audience. So we can look at what everyone is good at this room, and we can have a technology pick out the 4 or 5 best people who would be able to do this in 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I find really exciting. I think that new technologies are kind of enabling this new type of collaboration, where I think that if we go further into this, we will be able to really solve anything. Because if you find the right people, you bring them together, you have the right teamwork, we would be able to solve all of these problems we've been speaking about related to Macedonia.
To most
bigger
things,
issues
to
on a
most
global
business
level.
issues, probably.
Exactly, yeah.
That's true. Thanks. So I have a very practical question. So how can large manufacturing businesses start to implement AI resources to boost operational efficiency? I think that's to you, Mile. So that's
Yes, it's for me. Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, and I understand the need for that because it's directly related to the profit at the end and the business success. There are some components that needs to be discussed before we continue further with AI. And I say it's an elephant in the room because no one is talking about data. And the data is really a baseline for doing anything else. AI is just a cherry on top of the cake, but the baseline is the data. So what you really need in the manufacturing business or whatever business, whatever service you provide, it's to gather your data and consolidate it. Consolidation of data is a really important one, and then to come up with a good data management strategy, and at the end that leads to a so-called golden records. Golden records is actually the ultimate truth of the business or the information. So once we have that golden records, then we can train models and build artificial intelligence on top of that. And I understand, I mean, it's not just my understanding, but it's all the businesses think the same, that your internal data is really private and should stay in the business. In that manner, we cannot use the public services. We even by law are not allowed to do that. At least in Europe, it's GDPR protected. But that leads us to your personal implementation of artificial intelligence. In the technical terms, it's called RAG. It's Retrieval Augmented Generation. That means that it will work on your data, and the success of that experiment will depend on how good is your data. So if you have a really good data, if you have a golden records, then that will lead to increased operational efficiency. Again, it's not artificial intelligence, it's not a silver bullet, and I cannot speak in general for any manufacturing business and so on, but you need a really good team of subject matter experts, which are internal in the companies, and a team of engineers, artificial intelligence engineers, so that we can combine and intersect those two worlds.
Well, if we're talking about traditional businesses, what would you say is the biggest challenge in implementing this type of technologies inside of them?
Biggest challenge is not putting on a strategic level. So implementing anything new is artificial intelligence is nothing different than any other initiative in the organizations. So if you need a decision on a strategic level to put it that, okay, in a year or 3 years from now, we need to use artificial intelligence as much as possible. It is difficult to measure that, unfortunately, but you need to come up with a strategic decision that, yes, the business will use artificial intelligence. And then there are numerous of ways. For example, processing of invoices, believe it or not, it's still doing on paper. I'm not talking about businesses in Macedonia, but I'm talking in general in businesses abroad. So they're still operating on paper, which is really inefficient way. OCR technology was invented a long time ago, and today is available. So you can automate those manual tasks and make it directly efficient. This is technology that is at our fingertips.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's great, because you would be kind of getting data from inside the company and using it to train something that helps its employees. So that's been happening around a lot these days.
Exactly.
So, Meto, can you tell me a bit more about the vision inside of the telecommunication industry of how it will use AI in the future? So it's something that, because you guys generate a ton of data, like every type of data there is, you guys have it, and I think it's something that it kind of very connected to your
It's becoming scary.
Yeah, sometimes it's
but
scary.
It's GDPR always. GDPR always is around.
Okay.
No, but I would subscribe what Mile said, about the data. Yes, data is one of the critical elements, and talking about AI and how AI will evolve, referring to the telco industry, and this is, I would say, my individual opinion, I would put a little bit in a different perspective, because for me, the AI is a strategic enabler which increases the return on assets leveraging the data. Maybe I'm talking today a lot like an investor, but basically, it's the data is something which we are generating, but the data is, the platform which actually should increase the performance, the value creation of the assets under management. Now, talking about the return on assets is basically, something which refers to the asset classes which telco operators are managing. And there are the three major. And actually, you mentioned some of them. The first one is the infrastructure. Now, the telco operators are extremely capital-intense industry, operators, entities. And we are managing enormous infrastructure, starting from the telecom infrastructure, the radio access network, the fixed access network, the transport network, the core, multiple data centers, IT infrastructure, and so on and so forth. And, having the right allocation of the proper data on the assets part with the enabler, which actually is an AI who can process this data and then actually increases the performance, the value creation, or the return on the assets, is something which is from a critical importance. It's not only from the financial, from the investor perspective, but also from the customer experience. Because even if we are talking on for example, the radio access network, now we're implementing artificial intelligence tools which are monitoring the performance of the radio access, the mobile network. And actually it dynamically, from the dynamic perspective, it adjusts its performance in accordance to the type of the customer which actually is on that cell, or giving priority to different types of customers for ultimate customer experience. Not to mention, the power consumption or the electricity reduction, because this is one of the important elements. So this is the first asset class, the infrastructure. The second asset class is the customers. And because when I'm talking about assets, I'm not talking accounting perspective
No, no,
on
no.
assets. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the assets which are actually
The
subject,
value, what
subject to
right,
value
yeah.
creation. So there was a lot of discussion, and my colleagues here mentioned a lot about customer experience, streamlining processes. I touched upon in my previous answer that customers actually are expecting continuous evolution of their experience. All of you are customers of telco services, and you all want to be personalized, and this is something which has been mentioned, I think, You want to receive a tailor-made offer in the right time, on the right communication channel which you will choose. So it's not a broadcasting approach like we used to do years ago when we press a button and 500,000 customers receive the same offer. It's basically tailor-made and directly targeting individual customers. And this is actually the second asset class which I would say generates the highest value, leveraging the infrastructural platform, because we are offering our services on the technology layer, but the value is created on the customer side. And the third asset class is the employees. I love the PowerPoint, and I would be a little bit brutal with my colleague. Yes, the artificial intelligence is going to reduce FTEs, the headcount in the companies. For example, we are talking about a country which is very small, Macedonia. But just to put the discussion into perspective, on a yearly level, we are processing digital self-service orders in the range of 10 million. So 10 million transactions on a yearly level, our system has to process. Now, it cannot be done by humans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
no
impossible.
human touches that.
Yes, humans make errors. Human cannot do such a, I would say, labor-intense, repetitive task as robots, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. And this is something which actually goes into the direction of optimization of the workforce cost, or the workforce and the workforce cost. But I would fully agree that definitely it's not about putting people which are becoming more expensive constantly on a repetitive task, but actually to upskill and reskill them to create the real value, or to leverage the potential of AI and putting the AI in this, I would say, streamlining processes and increasing efficiency. And in parallel, it's not only about the reduction of the headcount, but it's also about increasing productivity. Because we saw here, so it's twofold effect on the employees. So one side, it's yes, you reskill, you upskill, and you put them to different job families and job categories which can generate much higher value contribution to the company, and you put the machines to do these 10 million tasks, and they do not make mistakes.
And they don't sleep, and they don't unionize.
Yes, they don't unionize, they don't want salary increases, and they work 24/7. So who would love more? Yeah. And on the other side, you also have, because one of our biggest, I would say, a substantial problem which we are all facing is basically continuous increase in the OPEX position of workforce cost. There is lack of resources, lack of talents, experts in the country, in the region, in Europe. And definitely it's basically how to extract the incremental value, or how to have the highest utilization of this OPEX position, and to contribute or to transform it into the top line performance. And this is something actually where we see in a real life case, actually AI can help to boost the productivity of the employees in the companies.
Yeah, please.
It's, I think the part that's kind of going out of the picture is you have gotten a degree, you've worked on something for a certain period of time, and you maybe believe that you can keep doing this for the next 5-10 years. I think that in that case, you probably have an unrealistic view of where the world is, and your job might get automated. But I think kind of approaching, even if I was someone who was, let's say, a data analyst, or someone whose job is very repetitive and is likely to be significantly impacted by AI over the next couple of years, I think the key part that's important in here is learning how to learn, instead of being afraid about what's going to happen and how AI is going to take my job. And this learning how to learn is a skill in itself, which is not very present. On a global level, it's not present, and I think that the way that our education system is structured here is not like that. I don't know much about CEMOS. I assume you're helping with that. But I would say when we go into, there is going to be a headcount reduction and there is going to be a productivity increase, and then companies will have a choice on how much do you want to grow, because there will be opportunities to grow. Yeah. So when we work with our clients, we try to focus on where are the opportunities to grow and how can you leverage your human resources, your people to realize that. Because you can cut costs, but growth comes from new ideas, new markets.
When you're using services from the telco operators, you want an ultimate customer experience.
Yeah.
And continuous evolution of customer experience.
That's why employees are the third asset class.
And this actually, it's basically, as I mentioned, you shift resources from the labor-intensive repetitive tasks to the tasks of, reskilling, upskilling, the ones which are actually creating the value.
Higher value, yeah.
And it's the learn to learn is something which is our DNA, because we are the drivers of the digitalization of the societies.
Yeah.
So this is a fact. We are the companies which are launching innovative solutions. We already have chatbots. We are launching voice bots. With an artificial intelligence behind, just to increase the customer experience. So, from that perspective, it's basically in our DNA to push the boundaries forward and to be, each and every time better in delivering this experience to the customer or the value proposition which customer expects. So, yeah, fully agree with that.
Yeah. So, that's very interesting, because employees being a big driver of the change, and they kind of, as someone that works in an educational institution, so that comes out of an educational, can you tell me what's the best way to kind of indoctrinate people to these tools? Like, how do we share this great knowledge, this great power that these tools can obviously bring, right? So, because it's not always obvious to everyone how this is useful to me. So can you please touch upon that?
Yes, I'm really glad that we are all here on the same page, that the employees must always learn.
Yeah.
And this is why Macedonia 2025 and CEMOS Educations, let's say, are here to share the knowledge and to share the latest achievement of the technology. Not always the employees will immediately accept the new technology, but of course you must, have a strategy about how you will implement these new ways of working in everyday lives. I'm traveling a lot, in European countries where we must be honest, they implement, the new technology a little bit faster. So recently I visited the Netherlands, and I was as in a dedicated group of students over there, and I've learned that at this particular company, they have put as a policy that every employee is required to use copilots. So it's not a choice whether you would like to use or not. So it's required to go through some basic educational modules or learning paths and to implement in your everyday work. And as you all mentioned, these copilots or these large language models could help you faster to realize where are your mistakes. Because if you test a solution manually, then you will need more time to find out about the mistakes. So sometimes you can use these copilots to test where you can find errors in some solution, etc. So you can, decrease the amount of time that you will not need to implement a new solution. So yes, there are challenges with implementing new products, but organizations like we are here to share their knowledge and to help every business user to be part of this AI world, I can say.
Yeah, I mean, we as an organization had, I would say, a problem in that because we're not that large of a team, and we had young people that were not quite eager to use that in their work. So it was very funny to see, very interesting for me to see how that evolved during it was me giving trainings, it was other people giving because someone asked about what type of tools you should use. It's probably finding the tool that kind of solves one specific use case for you. So none of these tools can do everything. So that's something that I think we kind of want to talk about. What the tool is, it's AI, but it actually feeds into data that you generate, right? So it's something that you have to give it data for it to be useful, right? So it's not, that's why Zoran used prompts, that's why A1 uses its customer data to have it in a more personalized way. That's why you guys use people skills or people tags to have a. So can you touch upon that? What type of data is useful and what type of data would bring more insights into? Mila, can you?
Well, they say that you don't have to be, business doesn't have to be years ahead of the competition. Minutes will do the job. But in order to have that, you need a real-time data.
Yeah.
And fun fact, for example, in US, the top 500 companies have at least 100 systems inside. So 100 systems, you can imagine that it's 100 data silos, data islands, technological islands, and so on. So collecting the data from those 100 systems, it's a project by itself. It's a really big challenge. That's why there is a big player in the AI world and in data management is the intelligent integration platforms. So in order to achieve real-time valid data, you need a tool to achieve that, preferably low code and preferably to be intelligent. So it is critical to integrate all those systems that work seamlessly and have the information immediately. So whenever there's an update, the business gets the update and numbers change, so you can steer left or right. So I would say, yeah, it is critical to have a real-time data and validated data that is automatically validated, so that business can draw decisions from that. But one point that was mentioned in the previous session was related to art and creativity. Artificial intelligence can draw conclusions based on the existing knowledge and existing events that happened in the past. Mm-hmm. But creativity and the creative process is something that is really undefined, and we really don't know what will happen in next. And there's a lot of creativity in the business, so I wouldn't exclude that component.
Great, thanks. So that means that basically we want to pull data from different sources, as you say, and it needs to be like structured in some way, so it can pull the right answers for you. That's interesting. So when dealing with people, so Bozhanka, your the technology you're using is quite interesting because dealing with people is probably the most complex things in business. So can you talk about how does that look operationally? So
where the data comes from?
Oh yeah.
We have our team here. They know how much we've struggled with this. So some of the data exists in systems like the one you were mentioning. When doing work with engineers, there is data that lies in tools like Jira.
Yeah.
Many times the data is on paper, notes, people's minds. So there is a kind of separate challenge where we first need to digitize whatever is on paper or whatever is just kind of not available. And I think that there is this big transformation that's happening now, understanding how valuable that data is. Because I think that the businesses that are going to be best equipped to win in the upcoming years are going to be the ones that have their data organized, it's interoperable and complete. And it's a really, really big challenge. There are some companies that are ahead, and there are some companies that are really behind. And especially when it comes to people, because people can be a really big differentiator. Companies that have a strong culture and know how to get the most out of their people resources are going to be the ones that win. So there is a bit of kind of an education piece, working with companies piece, where getting them to a place where that data is there and can be used in real time, it's going to take a while. That's something that at the moment is maybe one of the biggest challenges we're working on.
Yeah, I mean, that's for everyone, that's a challenge, right? So in most cases, that's a big thing.
Yeah, but I would say kind of like if I'm running a business right now and thinking about what's going to be a differentiator for me, I would go back and look at what kind of data do I have or do I not have, and how do I want to go about it before thinking about this broader idea of AI.
Yeah. I mean, it all starts with what you have now, so and how you can make this useful, because it's a tool, as most tools go. So, I mean, finally, I would just a 30-second answer for everyone. So, what was the most useful thing you learned today, and how would you put AI in that picture? At the 30-second challenge.
I would just comment on the data, because we touch upon a lot of data issues, and because I'm the representative of the telco industry, and actually we are master of generating, processing, and storing data. So for us, data is not an issue. We are storing
more than enough.
We are generating, processing, and storing zillions of terabytes of data, personal data. And definitely, yes, I would agree that the data and the structure of the data is critical, but then even if you have the data, you would need the AI to extract the value from the data, because even if you have an excellent data structure, okay, you have the data, but what's in it for me? So that's why I mentioned at the beginning that for me, the AI is actually the enabler, which leverages the power of the data, but then it translates to the value creation in these assets, which previously we mentioned. So, and for us as a telco industry, is basically finding a way how to actually, extract the real, value from the data, and this is the biggest challenge for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can see that we have 50 seconds.
I'll add to this. It's kind of, there is this connection between the customer experience, what does sales and customers need, and then linking it back internally to how can an existing data source be leveraged. Yeah. And then you go into, well, what kind of people do I have, and how do I make sure
how do I make this more better? Yeah. Something that Zoran showed us during his presentation, like very in a short period of time, you delivered a lot of information. You got a lot of information, and you acted upon that. So
I've generated a lot.
Yeah,
of information.
you generated a lot of value, I would say.
You must decide which of this information data you will use in production.
Yeah, and just by using the prompts and the automations. That's cool. So thanks everyone for your energy, for the time. I know it was quite late. I hope we did a good job of kind of taking this gold rush that's happening in Silicon Valley and everywhere, and kind of putting it into a more operational type of thing that people in all types of businesses can use and actually use it now. So I want to thank all of the speakers, and have a great one.